Okay, hi class. So this is a logo that I did that's kind of like the logo that you have in the book. Okay, and so we're going to create a logo, and I don't really care for the colors, but we're going to do it like it is in the book, and then I'd like you to eventually create a logo that is, has a nicer font, has better colors, and so forth, such as this. So let's go ahead and get started on the project that's in the book. Okay, I'm going to go to new. Okay, and I'm going to call this sailing. Okay, I'm going to give it a profile of print because we're going to use the logo in a print type setting. Okay, letter is good, but I also want it to be sized in inches. Okay, the width is good, the height is good, and I'm going to give it an eighth of an inch bleed, which is 0.125. Our color mode is CMYK, which is good. That's good for print. Our raster effects are high, 300 points per inch. That's good for print. Okay, and we're going to say okay to that. Okay, so here is our new document. All right, now there's something a little bit new here, and that is we're going to place a graphic as a template. Okay, so we have, for example, we have the sail file, which is a TIFF. Okay, I'm going to click the template box here so it comes in as a template, and it's going to get placed as a template, okay, in the background. And as you can see, I have two layers, my layer for drawing and my layer for the template. I want to make sure that I'm on layer 1, which is where I'm going to do my drawing. Okay, what I'd like to do is I'd like to zoom in just a little bit. Okay, so I'll draw a marquee around this drawing of the boat. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to change the fill color to a red, kind of like we have in the book. Okay, so I'll make sure that's selected. All right, let's change that to a nice red. We'll pick the range of reds, and that looks like a good one. Okay, so we'll change the fill to red, and let's make sure that there is no stroke. Cancel that. I click the stroke color, and I choose none. Okay, so now I'm ready to draw the red part of the boat, which is going to be down here. All right, so I'm going to grab the pen tool, okay, and I'm going to click one time here. All right, and I can start in any direction, but I'm going to hold down the shift key, which is going to constrain to a perfectly flat line. Okay, we're drawing a logo here, so we want it to be nice and uniform. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I'll click over here one time. Now I can draw right along this angle. Okay, click one time. You can see our boat bottom is starting to form. I'll hold down my shift key again so that I can have a nice straight line on the bottom. Almost there. I'm going to click one time here, but we're not quite done. Watch what happens. If I don't close up this path and create what's called a closed path, all right, as denoted by the little, there's going to be a little circle that appears by the pen tool icon. You can see as I approach the first point that I started with, it shows up. It's not there, and as I get over there, it shows up. Okay, I'm going to click one time. Now my object is complete. Okay, so that's one of the pieces that I need for my logo. All right, another thing that I need is I need to draw these sails. Okay, and so again, I want no stroke. I want to choose a yellow. Okay, you can choose really any yellow you want. I kind of think that choosing off the color swatches is good. Okay, that's not a bad idea. Okay, but also you can access the color swatches over here. Okay, so I'm going to choose this as a yellow. Sorry, I just made our red because I made the bottom of the boat red because it was still selected. So I want to click here in the white area and deselect. Okay, now what I'd like to do is I'd like to change the color we draw with to be a yellow color. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose yellow. Then I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold down the shift key. Okay, and this time, you know what? We are not going to worry about trying to recreate this curve. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to click here. You can see our sail is starting to come together. Okay, there. And all the way down to the bottom at the beginning, we see that our little tiny 0 pops up, which shows that we're back where we started. And I'll click. Okay, and we now have a complete closed path. All right. Now I'll go ahead and I'll deselect that. All right. And I'm going to now draw the other sail. Okay, so I'm going to grab the pen tool again. All right. And I could, if I wanted to, change the color now. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll change it. And I think we're going to use this color green right here. It's kind of a tealish color as shown in the book. Okay. So again, I'm going to come here to the bottom, okay, and I'm going to click and click, 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 and you can see it's starting to take a little bit of shape. Okay, click, and then back to the beginning. Okay. And I can see that that this is taking shape. However, there's a couple of things that I do want to fix. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to get the direct selection tool, which allows me to select points directly. And I'm going to grab this one and I'm going to pull it down so that it's nice and horizontal. Okay, that looks just right. Okay. Another thing that I'd like to do is deselect. I'm going to grab the direct selection tool, okay? And look what happens when I have certain points, okay? So for example, this point, I want to change to a curve, okay? Now, it's just simply easier in Illustrator to take, instead of trying to create Bezier curves, which is what they're called, Bezier curves, in Illustrator with the pen tool, do it like connect the dots and then convert the points that you want to be curves into curved points. Okay? Just like I'm doing here, working back and forth, selecting individual points and converting them to curved points. Okay? Now what I can do is come back here to the layer and let's turn off the template layer, okay, so I can see what the true shape of my sails are. Well, we can see that the shape of the sail could be a little better, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of the points, okay, such as there, and I'm going to pull on the handles and work on these so that they kind of have a little nicer shape overall. Okay, there we go. Deselect. All right, that looks nice and smooth, and kind of the same here. Okay, I'm gonna elongate the handles, which indicate how far a curve goes. Okay, you know, or how tight or how sharp, or there we go. Let's deselect. All right, that's not too bad. I see this one here needs to be maybe just a little bit longer. That looks like a nice smooth curve. All right, and I'm going to select that curve and that one there. That's starting to look nice and smooth. This looks like it could be a little bit smoother. There we go. So now I have some nice smooth curves. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the template layer on again by clicking here, all right? And I need to create the mast, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the pen tool. I'm going to select here, okay? And let's see, before I do that, I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to change the color, okay, to kind of a light brown color as shown in the book. All right, and I'm just going to go back to the layers, make sure that the layer I want to draw on is the one that was selected, and I can tell that it is because now the pen tool looks like a pen tool. Before it looked like a pencil, okay, we want it to look like a pen. And so now I'm going to draw. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and it's going to give us a straight up and down line right to there, okay? Now I'm going to also deselect by clicking here, and I want to give it no fill, and I'm going to give it a line that is that color. Okay, so let's go with that light brown color. All right, and let's deselect there. Now we have our line, and I want to increase the stroke to 6 points as shown in the book. Okay, all right, we're almost done. We're going to now put that circle up at the top of the mask. So we're going to grab the ellipse tool. All right, we're going to turn off that color. We're going to fill it with our brown color. We're going to start about here in the upper left hand quadrant. Okay, I'm going to hold down the shift key, and you'll see that gives us a nice perfect circle. Okay, so that's our boat. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off the template layer. All right, and I'm going to zoom out by doing Control-0. Okay, and there we have it. All right, we have kind of the basics of our boat logo. Okay.